and the British Wheel of Yoga have asked me today to go to do a Facebook Live for you. So my name is Anna Semlin and I work in York. I am a British Wheel of Yoga teacher and run a yoga business called Yoga in York. And I have qualifications in back care and particularly this book, Yoga for Healthy Lower Backs, which I wrote jointly with Alison Truila. And today I'm going to be talking about Ayurveda and the mind, and particularly the way that Ayurvedic Gunas can be used to help us in our practice choices of what to teach. So the mind is essentially vata or windy. It's the mind of, sometimes called the monkey mind, of distraction. And what yoga attempts to do is to calm the mind, to bring the mind into harmony. And there's lots of different ways of doing it. There's not as if there's only one way. A possible way is to bring in ritual to your life. So you can use ritual, for instance, by lighting a candle to set your intention to become one with the light, to stare into the flame, to bring yourself to the one-pointed focus, the drishti. Particularly this time of year in December, candle gazing is a good way to fix the mind on an external point of focus, the warmth, the light. Rituals ground us and bind us to the moment, the present, so the mind is not jumping to the past or the future. We are in the now, in the moment that exists now, the only reliable time for the mind to focus and pay attention. So I particularly recommend candle gazing this time of year. You could also use rituals such as saning or cleansing. I've here, for instance, got a lemon myrtle spray, which people use sage or Palo Santo as well. But for instance, you can spray or bring the smoke around you to help you to call in ancestors, angels, spirits, guides, bring you to the letting go of the past and being in the moment, the now, to cleanse what's past, what's gone, and to bring focus to the now. So I'd like to also bring in the blessing of thanking past versions of ourselves. So that to the child I used to be, I thank you. To the person I am now, I'm exactly where I need to be. To the future me, the woman I am becoming, I see you. And all of this sets up the intention of being in self-spiritual service of bringing ourselves into the higher purpose in our lives, to bringing ourselves into the yoga of harmony, of connection, of bringing together the body, mind and spirit. So Patanjali says early in How to Know God, his work about the mind, that yoga is about calming the mind state of turbulence, chitti vritti narodnaha, the calming the waves of the mind. And then he goes on to speak later on in his book about the gunas. Gunas are mind states. And I'll just read you some translations about the gunas. The objective experience is composed of the three gunas, the principles of illumination, sattva, activity, rajas, and inertia, tamas. From these, the whole universe has evolved, together with the instruments of knowledge, such as mind, senses, etc., and the objects perceived, such as the physical elements. The universe exists so that the experiencer may experience it and thus become liberated. That's a translation of 2:18 by Swami Pravananda and Christopher Isherwood of Patanjali's How to Know God, the Yoga Aphorisms. The same text or sutra is translated by Swami Vivekananda as the experience is composed of the elements and organs, is of the nature illumination, action and inertia, and is for the purpose of experience and release of the experiencer. So we're told there are three gunas, and they are tamas, which is the darkness of not understanding, its inertia, heaviness, inaction, matter. Rajas is where most of us are, which is action, activity, movement, energy, fluctuation. And most of us will be in that state rather than in sattva, which is illumination, clarity, purity, the ideal of yoga, self-control, to be with our higher force. As I say, most of us are struggling with fluctuation. So how does this play out in our lives? It plays out as anxiety, doubt, as excessive ambition, for instance, sometimes fluctuation, confusion, or just restlessness. And I know that I suffer from some restlessness. Sometimes I'm a juggler. I've got quite a lot of hyperactivity sometimes. So that instability is what I need yoga for, to calm me down. And the way to do it in physical yoga is to do some grounding practices, to do practices that bring us low to the ground, to take us away from the mind and into our feet, into the floor, into practices that make us slow down. And this happens fairly naturally, I think, in winter anyway, that we slow down, we come inwards. We might get ourselves a blanket, for instance, and wrap it round us. Just get the one that's in the distance there. We might become more contained with our practice, warmer. And then sit and ground ourselves into the floor. So we're going to do the Taproot grounding meditation, and it's just a short practice. Would you like to sit comfortably, close your eyes, and then you're slowly beginning to make little circles so that the base of the spine and the sit bones feel as if you are bringing the taproot of your energetic system down through the base of whatever you're sitting on, whether it's a chair, a block, the floor, mat, carpet. So you're spiraling down a taproot into the ground. And this is stabilizing through the ground, through the floor of your building. And you imagine it going deeper and deeper through the earth, through the layer of soil towards rock. And digging us deeper down so that you are connected into the magma in the centre of the earth, the warmth there. And then just pause and feel that you are deeply settled. Connected, grounded. And then for the symmetry of it, we also circle the other way and imagine the taproot coming up and bringing with it the sureness that we are exactly where we're meant to be. All our experiences up to this point have led us here to be members of the British Wheel, to be interested in self-development, to be excited here about grounding the mind, settling the mind. So we're imagining lifting our taproot, yet still energetically very settled and comfortable in our sitting position. If you imagine yourself now coming to a point of stillness, seeing how that feels. So Ayurveda is the medical background to yoga. It looks at the elements, for instance, compares the mind to the element of air, particularly vata. And you know yourself, when it's windy, what we need is strength, we need discipline, we need to feel able to move towards stillness. So in physical yoga, most of us teach hatha classes that involve postures and breathing and relaxing. The physical practices are those that involve strengths, like pulling up the pelvic floor muscles. So for instance, if you bring your hands together and then exhale and squeeze up the muscles around the lower openings, and ideally you aim to hold them still for up to 10 seconds and then release. Pelvic floor exercises like this are very important for anybody who's feeling anxious. They help with warmth in the body, they help with postnatal recovery. So exhale, squeeze and lift, and you are moving up the muscles around the perineum, the back passage, squeezing and lifting in and up. They can be done in all sorts of positions. You can do them kneeling, you can do them standing, sitting. In most of our postures, if we pull in and up, it will give us strength and stability. One of the physical postures that this works very well in, I'm just coming down to my mat, is to do the lying on your back, semi-supine position of having the knees bent up and allowing yourself to come down and bring the hands onto the belly. Exhale, squeeze the pelvic floor muscles in and up and the spine back towards the floor. It's grounded, it's lengthening for the back. Simple practice that I think most of us would teach in our classes or have learnt before. And that action of turning the pelvis under, very, very helpful for lengthening the spine. Ideally you pull in and up as you do this practice in order to create strength, in order to create the ability to control the pelvis. So exhale, squeeze and gently tilt the pelvis as a grounded practice that takes some of the energy away from the mind towards the sacral area, towards the base chakra as well. Exhaling, squeezing. You can of course do this standing up, and I'll just demonstrate what I mean standing up. So the pelvic tilt, we normally have a little curve in our spine, the lumbar curve at the base. If you tuck in and up the front of the body, as if you're pulling back the navel inwards and upwards, you'll do the pelvic tilt. It will feel that you'll lengthen your back and settle the posture into one of strength. Do it with the out breath. Exhale, tuck under. And although this might feel very simple, it is actually transformative to work with pelvic tilts and pelvic floor ups, and a very useful practice for most people. The style of practice we want for calming rajas, or the active, agitated state, is a gentle, slow, gravitational, exhalation based, often silent stress reduction, forward bending. The tailbone tucking under is a forward bending action. Balancing below the navel, grounded, low, steady, strengthening. Sort of easy, passive, accessible, downward direction, inward focus. The very safe sorts of practices help your students who are agitated in the mind. So keeping it simple. We might also try, simple balances. If I just demonstrate what I mean, this is a simple kneeling balance where you might lift one leg up, but not very high. The Rajasic people will want to lift their leg very high and start twisting the pelvis. What's actually better is to go to the level of no higher than the back, and then you can either stay still there, and that will stimulate the kidneys, or move gently. And it has the effect of pulling up the pelvic floor muscles, making you more stable, contained. And it's very helpful for people who need to focus because of the balance aspect of it. And what it does is bring balance and harmony through stabilising the mind. We have to focus to balance, strengthening the abdominals. It stimulates the kidneys to lift a leg. So I recommend the kneeling leg raising practice, sort of easy version of horizontal table, flat backed, moving into leg raises. How else can we stabilise an overactive mind? Well, you can get into gratitude. Gratitude is a fabulous practice for stabilising the mind and bringing us to the now. So think about what it is in your life that you are really grateful for. And since we've got a yoga context here, think of the teacher or teachers that have most influenced you, helped you grow with yoga. Be grateful for their knowledge. And here we are with the British Wheel of Yoga, expanding our knowledge through this live event. So I'm going to express gratitude to the British Wheel of Yoga and what I've learnt through the wheel. The incredible volunteer network that it involves. asking yourself and your students to focus in on gratitude has all sorts of benefits to do with calming the mind. It brings us into the mind state of thankfulness, appreciation, sattva. Another practice I would very much recommend to you as a meditation practice to calm the mind is to move towards asking the heart what it most, or asking advice from your heart. So the heart inquiries practice. So again, bring your hands towards your heart. Say, hello heart, I am listening. I love you. Hello heart, I'm listening. I love you. And ask, my heart is, my heart feels, my heart says. My heart is, my heart feels, my heart says. Sometimes we get advice to follow our gut. I think it's more sattvic in a way to follow our heart. Our heart knows with the openness of the love chakra, what it is that we will benefit from most, what will bring us into harmony. I think the gut area, the sacral and the solar plexus area are energetically vital, but the sexual energy, the energy of movement, of passion, but they're not so in tune with our higher sense of what's good for us. So ask your heart what it requires in terms of bringing us into balance. The sorts of postures I think, if we go back to postures that are really helpful for overcoming a turbulent mind, tend to be sort of the easier forward bends, mountain posture where you're actively pulling up the pelvic floor muscles, pull the navel back. Mantra is very helpful, the OMs, the silent as well as voiced versions. Things like bridge. Bridge is a practice I'm doing regularly for the physiotherapy on my leg. So I'll show you a version of bridge that I'm regularly doing, which helps me very much. It's a strengthening version with one leg lifted. So again, starting with the navel pulled back so that you've got strength in your pelvic floor muscles, the lower back dropping towards the floor, palms away from the body, nothing underneath the head. I'm lifting into a fairly low bridge and then asking the one leg to lift and pause and be still for say 5 seconds in length. Swapping to the other side. This is building up the strength of my ability to balance. The front of the shin is getting stronger on the base leg. It's recommended for grounding down, in fact, as a sort of semi-balance really. About 5 seconds in the air is long enough. It's a very helpful strengthening practice for the legs. And of course, if we stabilise the legs, that very much helps when there's wind, when there's movement. Of course, this year has seen a lot of people, and last year, change their lifestyles enormously, which has raised anxiety levels, the pandemic, the changes in work for most of us yoga teachers, from live classes to online classes or a mixture of that. So we're not as close to our students as we used to be, and that can feel a bit disconnected. So again, come back into settling yourself in an upright position, and we'll focus in on deepening the breath next. I've got a bit of a cold today, so I have to breathe through my mouth. What you're aiming to do is breathe through the nostrils and settle the breath into a slow, steady rhythm. Sometimes the simplest of practices, just noticing the breath, works so well. Not even counting, just noticing and stabilising the breath. Imagine breathing in steadiness, sthira, and as you breathe out calmness, ease, sukha. Steadiness on the in-breath, ease on the out-breath. And then check in with how you feel, and hopefully it's been possible to enjoy learning a bit about the Gunas, a bit about calming the mind, grounding. And thank you for your time to watch this video today, this Facebook Live. So I'm Anna Semlian, yogainyork.co.uk. If you have any questions, anna@yogainyork.co.uk. Otherwise, I honour the place in you in which the whole universe dwells. And when you are in that place, and I am in that place in me, we are one. Thank you.